series. This is a class where you learn important key phrases and different communicative strategies to deal with different kinds of everyday situations that you may have to deal with in English. And today is no different. We'll be looking at how to talk about past events, how to tell a story, and to do it in a natural way. We're going to be continuing this class from the Tuesday class. We began it there, but we're going to go a little bit further than Tuesday's class, and at the end of the class, you should be able to tell the story and sound like a native speaker. So we'll see if that works, and I think it will. Let me do a quick introduction before we get started. I'm John Eric, your verbally teacher for this hour. I'm an American teacher from New York, coming at you today from Lisbon, Portugal to bring this class. If you click on my name anywhere in the Verbling website, it'll take you to this page, my profile. On the left, you can follow me to see my upcoming classes, and also it'll allow you to communicate with me through the message window. On the right side, you can book a private tutoring class or buy a package, and I'll work with you on creating a personalized learning plan to help get you to your goals. If you're interested, just send me a message first so I can be sure that there's time for you in my schedule. Okay, so we're going to get started. We'll probably have some other people joining us in a minute, but let's say a quick hello to Mr. Sergey first of all. Hello, Sergey. How are you?
Hi, John Eric. I'm fine. Thank you.
Excellent. Very good. Sergey, were you here in the Tuesday class? I can't remember.
No.
Okay, no problem. So we're going to be, what we'll do is we'll read through, I gave us a short but very interesting little story. It's short, and it's short but interesting. That's what I wanted to say, Sergey. It's short but interesting. But also, we analyzed it to look at how to use certain verb tenses in the past, tricky ones, that will help you sound like a native speaker. So, we've got our other people coming in now. Very good, very good. So let's say hello to, welcome back, Mr. David from the last hour. Welcome back.
Hello, thank you.
Welcome back, Edson from Tuesday. Hello, Edson. How are you?
I'm fine, and you?
Very good. And Ms. V, you were here in the Tuesday class as well, weren't you?
Sorry, what?
What?
Yeah, what did you say?
I said you were here in the Tuesday class when we did the first...
You're on Tuesday?
Yeah.
I don't remember.
You don't remember this picture?
I was in your class yesterday. But
yesterday, maybe not Tuesday. Okay, maybe not Tuesday.
I don't remember.
No problem. So let's do this. Let's do this. I want to do a quick review, except that for Sergey and V, this will be an introduction, not a review. I'd like to do a quick review of the text we read, because it is a fascinating story, actually. And then we're going to hone in on the grammar. We're going to do a few drills and exercises, and then you're going to be telling a story of your own. But first, let's say a quick hello to Mr. Frederick. Hello, Frederick. How are you?
Hello, I'm fine. How are you?
Very good, very good. You were not in the Tuesday class, were you, Frederick?
Yes,
you were not here. You were. I don't remember you on Tuesday. Okay, maybe I'm... Oh, right. Nope, I do remember. Yep. Yes. We talked about Henry V. You were the one who's saying that Henry killed his brother. Right. Okay, listen. I want to do a quick review, and this will be an introduction for Sergey and V, and then we're going to hone in on specifically the past perfect and give you lots of practice, and then we'll turn it over to you to tell a story of your own. First, for those of you who are not here, look at these pictures. Mr. Sergey, these pictures show the stages that you're going to encounter in an historical story, a true story. Looking at these pictures, Sergey, what do you think is the mystery event? What's the mystery that we're going to talk about? The name of the text, by the way, is called Mystery in the Tower.
The Tower? Okay.
And what do you think the mystery is, taking a look at these pictures? I want you to make an educated guess. What kinds of things do you think are going to happen?
Well, it's obviously Oh, no, not obviously, but it seems that
Mhm.
this is some kind of historic mystery,
Historical mystery, absolutely.
which is related to uh, human remains
Absolutely. In picture 5, right? You
which
can
were found in a tower, right?
yes. Human remains being found in a tower. That's not too far off from what happens. What kind of human remains do you see in picture number 5? What's the name of that thing, Sergey?
I'm not sure for a proper word for this. Maybe no, I don't know.
Class? What's that called? Number 5.
That's cool.
It is a skull. Repeat after me. Skull.
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 Right. That's it. It looks like school, but it's not school. It's skull, Frederick. Skull.
Skull.
That's it. It's a skull. A skull is part of what?
Of
What-
body.
Of the
Skeleton.
skeleton. Skull, skeleton. A skeleton is made of what?
Bones.
Bones.
Bones. Okay, good. Skull, skeleton, bones. Okay. Ms. V, do these pictures look familiar? Because if they do, that means you were here on Tuesday.
No,
They don't.
it
Okay.
looks strange.
What kind of people is this true story going to be about? Look at picture number 2 in particular. What kind of people is this going to be about?
First, there can be he can be a king.
He can or he could?
He could.
He
could be a
could
king.
be a king. Right.
Yeah.
In fact,
And,
he is a king.
The second is he could be a member of monarchy.
Of the monarchy. Yeah, absolutely.
Monarchy.
Monarchy.
Yeah.
Absolutely, absolutely. Okay. So, let's do this. Let's read the story once more because it's short. As you read this, for those of you who are new, I want you to be aware that this mystery, at least at the time of the story, had not been solved. We don't know the answer. That's one of the points of the story. We don't really know. Actually, in 2013 and 14, some of this has been solved, but at the time it was written, it wasn't known about yet. You'll see what I mean in a minute, okay? And the reason I want to read this again also is because I want you to have a text in your mind that you can refer to for the examples. You can see exactly what verb tenses and exactly what expressions are being used to talk about the past. Okay? So, a quick read. Miss V, take the first part for us.
Yeah. The princess disappeared on April.
Careful with the pronunciation, because it's not princess. It's the
The
princes.
Oh, because the letter in Italy, so I cannot see clearly. The princess disappeared
Good.
on the 9th of April, 1483. King Edward IV of England died. He had two sons, Edward, aged 12, and Richard, aged 9. The boy's uncle, also called Richard, was asked to look after them and govern the country until Edward was old enough to be king. This never happened. Uncle Richard put the princes in the Tower of London to protect them, and they were never seen again. They simply disappeared. Meanwhile, their uncle took power and became King Richard III of England.
Excellent. By the way, let's say a quick hello to Angelina. Hello, Angelina. How are you?
I'm good. Good morning.
Very good. So, we're just reviewing a text that we had read on Tuesday because it's going to be what we're going to study for the verb tenses in this class. We're going to look at the grammar in particular. Okay? Were you here in the Tuesday class? Okay.
No, I wasn't.
You weren't. Okay. This first paragraph is really important, by the way. So just notice the relations here. There's, in this mystery, This is a true story, by the way. You've got Edward and Richard, who are kids. You can see them in the painting. But you've also got an uncle who is Richard, who eventually becomes King Richard. And you've got their father, Richard's brother, whose name is also Edward. So the father and the son have the same name, both fathers and both sons. The problem was, just so that this is absolutely clear, was that, let's see, young Edward wasn't old enough to be king when old Edward died. Richard became king, and young Edward disappeared. In fact, so did his brother. Very important that you follow this now, otherwise you'll lose the whole train of thought. You'll lose the thread as you go forward. Okay, so, Mr. Sergey, next. Richard III is killed.
Okay, so what happened to the princess? Nobody knows. But later that year, the stories began. People said that Richard had married the boys. A lot of people were against Richard and rebelled. Richard's enemy, Henry Tudor, had spent some time in France, but now he returned to England and rebels joined him.
Wait. The rebels?
Okay, and the rebels joined him. On August 22nd, 1485, the two armies fought at the Battle of Bosworth Field. King Richard was killed, and Henry became King Henry VII of England.
Good, except Henry the Seventh.
Henry the Seventh.
Very good. Notice rebelled and rebel. Rebel is a verb and rebel is a noun, Sergey.
Okay.
Okay, that's why it's pronounced differently. Okay. Are the events in this part of the story clear to everyone? Any questions about what actually happened? Questions? No? That means if I ask you what's going on, you'll be able to tell me? Edson? What happened? What happened to Richard?
It's a kind of controversy because Richard was accused
Right.
the murder, but then he came back and now everybody joined him.
Mm-hmm.
The rebels joined him again.
Joined.
But the same rebels who
Joined who? The rebels joined
who
who?
had joined Richard.
No, they joined Henry.
Oh, I'm mistaken.
Do we all agree about that? I don't think I misunderstood. The rebels.
Right, you're right.
John Henry.
Yeah. So that's why he died. There was a power struggle, because a little bit of gossip goes a long way, Edson.
Okay.
So Henry becomes King of England. That's the main point here. The first time we read this, I also got a bit confused. That's why I'm sort of making sure that the events are clear. Okay, let's see what happens next. Ms. Angelina, why don't you take the third paragraph? A forced confession?
A forced confession? Were the boys really dead? Many people thought they were still alive, and perhaps Edward could become king. But King Henry was quite clear. Richard had killed them in 100.
No. 15.
I'm sorry, in 1502.
Good.
Richard's friend, Sir James
Tyrrell
confessed he had murdered the boys on Richard's orders, although he didn't say what had happened to their bodies.
Well, I wonder what happened to James Tyrrell. Let's see. I wonder if I don't remember if we talked about that. Let's find out. Okay, so this seems to prove the story, right? It seems like Richard had killed him because we have a confession that James was ordered to do it by Richard. Of course, Henry's king, and I'm sure no one's going to contradict the king's story, right? Well, let's see what happens next. Mr. Edson, why don't you take History is Written? Read slow and clear.
In 1674, the bones of
1674. Don't forget the T.
74.
Right.
All right. In 1674, the bones of the two children were found under the stairs of the church in the Tower of London. Now it seemed clear Richard III had ordered Sir James to kill the princes in the tower and put their bodies under the stairs. In Shakespeare's play Richard III, Richard was an evil monster, a murdered with a deformed
One second. A murderer.
a murderer with a deformed body. The most famous painting from the time shows that Richard had one shoulder bigger than the other. At at that time, people thought that a deformed body was a sign of evil mind, and so history was written. The story was complete, or was it? Was it?
Like this. Like this, Edson. The story was complete. Or was it?
Or was it?
You gotta do the music too. Dun, dun, dun. Okay. Let me hear the music, Edson.
Dun, dun, dun.
Very good. Very good. Okay. Well, let's find out if there's more to the story than we think. Here is the lineage of the family. Okay? Mr. Frederick, take a look at that little diagram, and I want you to talk about the relations that you see. Who is who in relation to each other? For example, Prince Richard is who's what? You can talk about son, daughter,
Okay.
father, nephew, uncle,
Okay,
father-in-law,
Prince.
mother-in-law.
Yes, first of all, Prince Richard is the brother of Prince Edward.
That's true. Or even better,
I-
he is Prince Edward's brother.
He is Prince Edward's brother.
Good.
He is a nephew of King of Richard.
Who's the nephew? I'm sorry.
Prince Richard is the nephew of Richard, the brother of King Edward.
Not the brother of King Edward, but King Edward's brother.
King Edward's brother.
Right. We always have to say it like that.
Okay.
King Edward's brother. Right. Prince Richard is King Richard's nephew.
Yes. Okay.
Nephew, right? Because it's the son of his brother. Yes.
And
That means that Richard is whose uncle?
Richard is the prince's uncles.
Richard is the
Uncle.
prince's uncle. That's right. Okay. Let's see. Let's see how clear this is. Let me go to you, Mr. David. I want you to talk about Prince Edward now. Based on this diagram, can you point out two people that have a relationship to Prince Edward?
Well, Prince Edward is Richard. King Edward is Prince Richard's and Prince Edward's father,
That's right.
And
He's
also-
their father, right.
right? And he is also Richard's brother.
And he is King Richard's brother, right. Like as
King Richard. Yeah, the King Richard's brother. Yeah, he became king. Yeah.
Okay,
So there's a relationship between them.
there you go. Sergey, what is Prince Richard's relationship to Henry? Is Henry Prince Richard's uncle? What do you think?
What again? What's the relation of Prince Edward and Henry Tudor?
Yeah. Is Henry Prince Richard's uncle?
No, I think they are not related at all.
They are not related at all because he's an enemy of the family and he lived in France. You know, where all those bad people live in France. Right, Frederic? All the bad people live in France. Okay. Hopefully that makes a little bit of sense. Now you see the diagram. And here's the question. Whose bones did they find? Whose bones did they find? I want to jump forward. Where was it? We did these comprehension questions in last class, but let's just take a look at the last two. History is written. Who do you think the bones belong to? So if you're new in the class, I want you to answer that question. V, you go first. Whose bones did they find?
I think that's the bones. No. That could be the bones of two princes, Edward and Richard.
Oh, they could be the two princes' bones.
Yeah. They
Frederick,
could be two princes' bones.
Frederick, can you think of a reason why that might not be true?
Because it could be the bones could belong to, I don't know, maybe a dog, or
They could.
yeah,
Because
or a cow, or someone.
everyone knows they used to
Yeah.
bury dogs in the stairs, of course.
Of course, yeah. Or maybe someone who built the tower and died during the construction.
That was my theory on Tuesday. Yeah, I think so. I think they were the bones of construction workers who died. And you know, it's a lot easier to say someone got drunk and fell in the water than it is to say that they died on the job. So they just covered it up. That's my theory. I don't know if any of you agree with me, but that's my theory. Sergey, you're new here. You weren't in the Tuesday class, so look at question number 8. The picture showed Richard was deformed. Well, you can't really see it in the picture that I have. If you go here, you can't really see it, but it's one shoulder is supposed to be higher.
Sure.
Right. Okay, so that's the idea. He's deformed. Why was that important, according to what we read?
It is important because people thought that it could be a sign of evil.
A sign of
character.
evil, right?
Evil character.
Exactly. If
So
you
it could be an evidence that Richard actually killed the boys.
So what do you think happened, Sergey?
I have no idea, really.
But here's what I'm getting at. What's the problem with the narrative, the way it was understood for hundreds of years? What's the obvious problem? Don't you see a big, big, big hole in this story? A big blank space that no one was talking about? Am I the only one who sees this? Does anyone else with me?
It is not the when the Richard went to another place and he came back and
Wasn't Richard who went? I don't think.
I don't
Who went?
remember.
Wasn't it Henry who went to France?
Yeah, I think so.
Yeah.
And when he came back, his enemies or
They are enemies, right?
his enemies joined him. I don't know why this happened or.
Okay. No. Wait a second. Let's clarify that. Class, what happened when Henry came back? Whose enemies joined whom?
The rebels joined Henry.
The rebels joined Henry against
against Richard.
Against Richard. So Richard's enemies, Edson, Richard's enemies suddenly had a little army with a leader because Henry became their leader. So he kind of unified all of the enemies. Okay, Edson?
Yes, yes.
But look, I'll give you my theory. You can disagree with me if you like. Here's the obvious problem. This all began because of some gossip. I mean, it's just hearsay. It's nothing that would hold up in a court, right? What evidence do they have that Richard killed the boys? It literally began because of gossip, literally, and no one wanted to talk about that. Does anyone else think that's a problem?
But what about confession of Richard's
Yes,
assistant?
but it was made after.
Trevor or something.
A good key word there would be hindsight. In hindsight, your vision is 20/20. Have you heard that expression before? In hindsight, your vision is 20/20. It's really easy to come up with a solution after you know all the details. And so I agree with you, Frederick. They already disappeared. All the events happened. They just needed to put some piece in the puzzle to finish it. Who more convenient than some guy who's being ordered by the king to confess? See what I'm saying?
Yeah.
What do you think about that, Sergey?
So you say that it was a forced confession?
Yeah.
Like when you tortured him or something?
No. I think that they probably let him retire in the country somewhere with a nice house. I think that's what they did.
In exchange of confession?
Yes.
So I don't think what would be true at that times. Probably it would be tortures, yeah.
Really?
Yes, because it's like 15th century, right?
Let me draw your attention to the events of 1980 to 1985 in the United States. Who was president at the time? Remember?
When?
In 1980 through 1988. Who was president in the 80s?
Reagan?
Of course, Reagan.
Okay.
And in the Soviet Union, it was Gorbachev for most of it, right? That was like the big Cold War standoff between Reagan and Gorbachev, right? In the 80s.
Yeah. I was born in 1982.
In 82, okay. So you remember.
Yeah. Sort of.
So Reagan, and by the way, I'm not saying anything that isn't completely out there in the open and known. So Reagan got money to fight a war in South America by selling weapons to an enemy of the state, which was Iran, because there was a revolution in Iran. So they kicked the Americans out, and we're still out. But they're on the enemy's list, so because they're on the enemy's list, it's not legal to sell them weapons. Why would you sell guns to your enemy anyway? And who went to jail? Did Reagan go to jail for this? Does anyone remember Reagan going to jail?
In a movie, maybe, but no, not
in real life.
No, not in real life.
No. One guy went to jail. As far as I remember, because it's been a long time, one guy went to jail, a guy named Oliver North. And I was thinking about this the other day, so I just remembered it. So he went to jail. And afterwards, he ran for Congress, or he ran for Senate. I don't remember. He ran for some public office. And he used the fact that he went to jail as his campaign speech, his campaign. He was campaigning on the platform. I went to jail. Why did he go to jail? Because Reagan could go to jail. So Sergey, here's my theory. throughout history, we need to write history in retrospect. We need to rewrite it. And I think, you can disagree, but I think this guy was the fall guy. Good vocabulary word. He had to take the fall for the king so that they could rewrite history and make all the ends nicely tie up together. I think he was the fall guy for not for Richard, but for Henry. And it was a power struggle to take over the land, because that's all they had at the time was land, right? So kick the king off the land, you get the land, you get all the power. That's my theory. What do you think, Sergey? You with me?
Well, I still think that it would not be possible in 15th century to exchange confession to calm living. It was the dark times, and I don't think that people came that days, right? So,
but wasn't the best way if you were caught by the Spanish Inquisition? Wasn't the best way to get out of it just to pay the person who's torturing you?
yes.
I mean, there's always. That's what I'm saying. I think the corruption's always been there. That's my theory.
Oh, that's a very interesting theory. Yeah.
That's why I am not a history major, because I would probably fail. Well, let's take a minute and look a little bit closer at the actual verb tenses. Actually, I want to look at pronunciation too, just briefly, because you'll notice things like rebel and rebel. In fact, we've got a whole bunch of words here that are really important for pronunciation. All of these words have 2 syllables. What I'd like you to do is to put them in the correct box. Look at the stress. The big circle is the stress. So, Angelina, can you just read the first 2 words and read them according to the stress that you see on the left?
Battle.
Right.
Become.
Right. So the stress is on the second syllable in the second word. Okay? I want everyone to put another word into one of the boxes, and you're going to say the upper box or the lower box. Okay? So, Angelina, give us another word from the list and tell us if it goes above or below.
Rebel. Go to above. Rebel.
Okay.
Go to below.
Goes to below.
Yes.
Right? Good. Rebel, the noun, above. Rebel, below. That's the verb. Excellent. Okay. Ms. V, give us, let's give us 2 more.
Sorry.
2 more, please.
2 more to the upper or the lower.
1 upper and 1 lower, if you can.
Okay. Body, upper box. And,
Body, good.
And complete the lower box.
Okay, complete lower, body upper. Sergey, 2 more.
Happen is a upper box,
Right?
and confess is a bottom box.
The lower box. Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, excellent. Frederic, 2 more.
Power goes to the upper box.
Right?
Protect.
That's right.
And protect go to the upper box also.
Is it protect or is it
No,
protect?
it's protect.
It's
Yes,
protect.
protect. So the not the upper box.
The lower box.
The lower box.
The lower box. Edson, the last 2. Edson, the last 2.
Return, below, shoulder, above.
Right. Return is a verb. Shoulder is a noun. Shoulder above. Okay. Are the words in exercise 4 nouns or verbs? If you know that, you know the general rule. Okay? What do you think, class? Anyone want to try to work out the rule?
Yeah.
What is it, V?
Yeah, I think that for the noun we put the stress
Mhm.
on the first syllable.
On the first syllable, right?
Yeah, and for the verb we put on the second. The
On the
stress on the second one.
Right. So the first syllable is usually stressed if it's a noun. Usually. There's longer syllable words which follow a different pattern, but usually it's on the first syllable, particularly if it's a short word. But the second syllable is usually stressed in verbs like rebel. Is there any exception to the rule? Are there any exceptions to this rule that you saw in this exercise?
Happen?
Happen is an exception. It's not to happen, it's to happen. Okay, so that one does not follow the pattern. There are exceptions. Okay. Give me a second here. If you hang on just a second, I want you to do a quick listening activity that sheds a little bit of light on actually what happened. Let me see if I can find it. One second. Oh no. Here it is. Okay. You're going to hear an historian. They say a historian. I say an historian. Anyway, same thing. You're going to hear an historian talking about the murder of the princes. I want you to predict his answers according to these questions. The people who first wrote about the princes in the Tower were against Richard. Why? Number 2, why did Sir James confess? We've talked about this already, actually. Number 3, do we really know what happened to the bodies? Number 4, the painting shows Richard was deformed, but was he really deformed? Number 5, who really killed the princes in the Tower? Guess what? I think we're going to find out in just a second. So the mystery, I think, will be solved. Okay? Listen carefully and tell me if what you thought happened really happened. Okay? Let's give it a try. Give me a second here. Yeah, here we go. The interviewer says, "Welcome to Mysteries from History. And on today's program, Dr. Andrew Griffiths is going to talk about one of the most famous murder mysteries in British history. The murder of the princes in the Tower of London in 1483. Good morning, Andrew." Dr. Griffiths says, "Morning." Interviewer, "So, did Richard III kill the princes in the Tower?" Dr. Griffiths says, "Well, it's a good question. Most people think they were murdered by Richard III. But I'm not so sure. I think someone wanted people to think he was a murderer. You have to remember that the people who first wrote about the princes in the Tower wrote about it when Henry VII was already in power." Interviewer, "And Henry was Richard's enemy." Griffiths, "Exactly. So these writers wanted to please Henry. Very dangerous to make the king angry in those days." Interviewer, "So they had to write the story Henry wanted to hear." Griffiths, "That's right. And Henry wanted people to think Richard had murdered the princes." That's the end of part 1 of the interview. I think, what do you think? So, was that the same? Did he say anything that surprised you in the interview so far, just out of curiosity? Is that pretty much what you expected him to say?
So basically, he implies that Henry actually killed the boys to get people to rebel against Richard, right?
Yes and no. Yes, that could be inferred. Yeah, that could be. It could have been a plan all along. But all he's saying is probably someone wanted to please Henry, right? But there is a suggestion that it had been. We could infer from what he's saying that it had been planned from the beginning to allow Henry to return to the UK, right? That could have been it. Okay, let's listen to the rest of the interview and see if you agree with his conclusions. Here we go, part 2 of the interview. Griffith says, now, remember that in 1502, Richard's friend, Sir James Tyrrell, confessed to the murder. Well, we know that he confessed under torture. Dun, dun, dun. He was forced to confess, but he didn't say where the bodies were, because I don't think he knew where they were. I don't think that he had killed the boys at all. Interviewer, oh, right. And what about the bones, the children's bones they found in 1674? Griffiths, well, it's not clear that they were the prince's bones. One second, I need to plug in my computer. I'm losing battery. Hold on just a second, everyone. Otherwise, my computer's going to shut off. There we go. Sorry. Griffith says, well, it's not clear that they were the prince's bones. They were examined in 1933, and guess what? Some of them were animal bones. I don't think it's clear at all. And then there's the painting of Richard III. Well, the painting has been examined with X-rays, and we know it was changed. Someone changed it later. Someone had made one shoulder bigger than the other. Someone tried to make Richard look ugly afterwards. Remember, in those days, a deformed body was a sign of an evil mind. Well, I don't know, of course, but I think quite possibly Henry VII killed Richard. I think the princes had been, I think the princes had still been alive when Henry won the Battle of Bosworth Field. Now remember that Prince Edward's father had been king. Prince Edward's father had been king, King Edward. Prince Edward was the next in line to be king. So Henry wanted him out of the way. I think Henry murdered the princes and told everyone that Richard had murdered them. Maybe Richard was framed after he had been killed. In other words, Henry made it look like Richard was guilty. And the interviewer says, interesting. Well, thanks for coming to talk to us today. Angelina, are you surprised by Dr. Griffith's answers?
No, I'm not surprised because what he says is very logistic, you know.
Very logical.
Logical. Yeah.
It makes sense.
I think it makes sense. Yeah.
What about the idea that Henry had been planning this all along? I like that theory a lot. I think Henry was planning a way to come back to England out of exile.
Yeah, I think so too, because he want to take the power of the country.
Well, do you think we'll ever solve this mystery? Class, what do you think? Do you think we'll ever find out?
During the speech, it's logical, but there are some fallacies.
Yeah, like what?
So, I don't remember now.
You might be right. You might be right. And maybe there's definitely some holes we don't know about. Plus, nowadays we can just test DNA. If the DNA has been preserved well enough, you can still test for it. And in fact, as you know, Richard was found a year ago, so his body was found. And I don't remember if they found that he was deformed or not. I think they found that he was, actually, if I remember right. But I don't remember exactly what the findings were. Well, I also want to take a quick look at the grammar, and I want to give you a chance also to do a little bit of practice with this. So if you just hang on 1 second, what I'm going to do here is I'm going to give you a short practice, which you're going to see on the screen in just a second. Give me a second because I have to sort of fix the one you see on screen now is what we talked about the last time, but I've got a second one which is a little bit trickier. I'd like you to try. Give me just a minute here. Almost ready. Okay, I'm just going to fix it and then refresh the page. Then we're going to try this together. Oh, I need to get rid of that. Okay, so I'm going to refresh the page, and I want you to take. Oh, I'm sorry. For those of you who are new, you'll see these two statements. We talked about this. I just want to look at these two statements really quickly, then I'm going to give you a chance to practice this. Okay, so for people who are new, when these are two possibilities. I'm not saying that these both happen. Possibility number one, when Henry took power, he killed the princes. That's number one. Okay, where does that go in the timeline? A or B?
The timeline, you mean first? The action happened first?
Look at the
Henry took power.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Look at the timeline above that sentence. Where does it go in the timeline? Where the A arrow is or where the B arrow is?
The B, I think. Give me the big B in the time.
Yeah. There's the big B and A, which are below the timeline.
Yeah. B, I think.
Okay. So just to be clear, you're saying that one matches with B. Class,
Yeah.
do we all agree? We all agree with her? Yes?
Yes.
Okay,
Yeah.
we're good. Yep. Great. So that means that in number two, when Henry took power, Richard had killed the princes. That must mean that 2 matches with A. Okay? Are we all clear on that? That the killing happened before Henry took power in 1485. Do we all agree that that's clear?
Yes.
Yes.
Okay, good. If you understand those two sentences, that's really all you need to know for the moment about the grammar we're going to look at. Okay, I've got a summary of this. Uh-oh, wait a second. That's not the summary I wanted you to look at. Oh no, hold on. That's a mistake. Uh-oh. Uh-oh. Give me a second. It's not what I wanted to show you. Let me see if I can fix this really quickly. Why is the wrong thing? What did I do here? Oh, I know what I did. Oh, no. Give me a second and I'm going to fix that for you. Sorry, I put the wrong unit on the screen. That's what I did. So give me just a second and refresh the page. What you should have here is a summary of all the forms of the past tense. Okay, I think I got it now. Let me refresh the page. There we go. Okay, what you're looking at here is just the positive, the negative, and the question form of what we call the past perfect. Mr. Edson, could you just read the directions, not the directions, the explanation there above the table for me?
Past perfect. Use the past perfect when you are talking about the past and you want to say that an action happened at an early time in the past.
Okay, perfect past. Right? When it's always two actions, one happening before the other. Okay? Taking a look at that chart, are there any questions about the form, the positive, the negative, or the question form? Right? He had been to a concert, positive, hadn't been, and had I, you, he, she, it been is the question form. Okay? If there's no questions, then what I want you to do is I want you to see if you can use the past perfect. So I've given you a little sentence here to take a look at. A little exercise here for you to take a look at. And we're going to try this together. Give me just a second to, maybe I can make this a little bit more readable. Okay, and maybe it's a little bit easier to see. Okay. So this example. Before he died, past, King Edward had asked his brother, Richard, to look after his sons. Right? So the asking happened before dying. That's why it's in the past perfect. And dying happened later, more recently, so it's in the simple past. So think about that as a model, okay? Let's give it a try. So Mr. Sergey, take number 1 for us. And your verbs are at the end, see and put.
Yes, I see. No one seen the princess. Richard had put them into Tower of London.
Okay. Something didn't quite sound right there. Which one happened later?
Oh, okay. No one saw the princess. Richard had put them into a Tower of London.
No one saw the princes because Richard had put them into the tower. If you put in the because, it's really clear. Yeah, it works. Could we
But
say
because he has a, okay, I got it.
it's not there, but I'm saying if you insert a because, it makes it even clearer. No one had seen. Why had they not seen it? Because Richard had put them into the tower. Could we say no one saw the princes, Richard had put them into the tower? Could we say that as well? Does that sound okay? No one saw the princes.
Yeah.
Richard had put them into the tower.
Because Richard had put them into the tower. I think so.
They can't both be correct, can they?
Depends on if you have, I don't know, maybe when, or like when research blah blah blah, or
Depends
because
on
research blah blah blah.
yeah, it depends on how you connect them together.
Yeah.
All right. So it sounds okay to me to say no one had seen the princes because. When you got the because, it's clear. If you take it out, no one had seen the princes. No one had seen the princes. Richard had put them into the tower. We always need to have Richard in the past perfect because it happened earlier. So no matter what you do, Richard seems to always need to be in the past perfect. So that's, I think, the main thing. Richard happened earlier. He goes into the past perfect. Mr. Edson, what about number 2?
Richard finally had become the King of England. He wanted to be king for a long time.
So Richard had finally become. Wait a second. You put the had in the first part, right?
Yes.
But did the wanting happen earlier than becoming? I think it did. He wanted, before he became, he wanted to become. It happened earlier. So you got to switch it. Switch it.
Let's see. It sounds strange.
Try it.
Richard finally. You mean Richard finally wanted?
No. I mean, you switch the verb tense. Try it with the simple
Okay.
past in the first part.
Richard finally became the King of England.
Yeah?
But this way he wanted to become to be king of for a long time.
He wanted or he had wanted?
He had wanted.
He had wanted. Because I thought you said the first time he had become King of England rather than he became.
Yeah.
Right? So
It sounds
he
okay.
finally became the King of England. He had wanted it in the past. In the past of that moment. The past of the past. So became, had wanted. Okay. Mr. Frederic, what about number 3?
Henry Tudor, Richard's enemy, returned to England in 1485. He had spent the previous 2 years in France.
Absolutely right. Angelina, number 4.
Henry took the title of the the title of King of England after he had killed Richard in the battle.
He took the title after he had killed. Right. That's right. Okay, sounds good. Back to V for number 5. Back to V for number 5. Uh-oh, I don't hear V. Back to Edson for number 5.
Yeah,
Oh, there
I'm
she
here.
is.
I'm
There she
here.
is.
Oh,
Okay.
my internet. I can hear you, but I couldn't edit my mic.
Oh, no.
Yeah,
Well, now you're
number
okay.
5. Yeah.
So what do you think for number 5?
Yeah. People continued to talk about the princess. They said Richard had murdered them.
Had murdered them. Sounds good to me. Edson, the last one, number 6.
In 1502, James Tyrrell
Tyrell?
Arrell confessed the murder to the confessed to the murder of the 2 princes. Richard had ordered him to kill them.
Perfect, because he did it earlier, so he had
Yeah.
ordered him. Very good, very good. Okay, well, we're kind of out of time, but in this last activity, you have to tell a story yourself. The first story you could tell is Mysteries in the Tower. So, I have to start another class, so we've got to stop here. But what you could do to get some extra practice is go back to the pictures here, 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5. And what you could do is use them to write the story in a short summary, making sure to use the present perfect, the past perfect that we've been practicing with, making sure to use it several times in the story. So you need to talk about the events in relation to each other. You can also switch the order of events by using the past perfect. So if you'd like to try it out, I want you to use slide 15 as a writing prompt, right? You could even start your story with the example that they give you, continue. If you're interested, then send it to me in the message window, and I'll correct it and send it back. Okay? Alternatively, you can tell your own story. Is there something historical that happened where you live or in your culture that you could tell a story kind of like this? Do you have a Mystery of the Tower that you could share? Okay? You can also just tell the story in the next class. We'll be moving on to something else, but you could also just get some speaking practice. Not today because I got to stop. So if you're interested in doing that, send me your writing through the message window, or bring your story to the next class, which will be next Thursday at 1 GMT. Okay, everyone. Very good job today. I'll be back from 12 to 2 tomorrow for learning from pictures first, and then language games after that. Okay, looking forward to seeing you then. Stay out of the tower and don't get buried in the staircase, okay? Bye for now, everyone. See you soon.
Bye. Thank you.
Bye. Thank you.
Bye.